welcome back to another video! This week I'm taking you along with me as I try to design a new character I've been working on. So a couple friends and I have been trying to figure out a story that we can work on together. So we're like figuring out characters, a world, plot lines and all that kind of thing. And I don't usually work on like that much writing and like world building kind of things, but I have done some of it, and my friend has been kind of desperate for me to like really get into like world building and characters and stories and all that kind of stuff. So her way of getting me to do it is to like partner with it, and then we roped another friend in together. So as a part of all that, we're starting to create like a cast of characters and stuff like that, and we're each taking like sort of quote unquote ownership or like primary parentage over some of the characters. So the first one I've developed for this sort of story that we're working on is this kid. His name is Alroy. And yeah, I was just trying, like, I've been thinking about him for about 2-3 weeks now, but I wanted to sit down and kind of get a handle on more things about him as I like work through drawing him. But I'd been sort of thinking about him for quite a while by the time I started drawing this, so I already had a lot of things sort of knuckled down about him, so it was more of just like putting it to paper. So like it might seem like a kind of weird design process because I don't really go through many like drafts. I just kind of draw the first thing that comes to mind and go with it. But I have been thinking about it a lot, and I imagine that he'll continue to develop as time goes on. But yeah, the first thing I kind of decided about Alroy was that he was going to be ginger, and I wanted him to have grey eyes, not green, because like green is the complement to red, and that felt like too easy design wise. And then blue eyes kind of just, I don't know, red hair, blue eyes seems a little bit too like basic, so I decided grey eyes instead. And I was thinking about like hairstyles I could give him, and it was kind of like a challenge because I really love Ed Sheeran. And one of the friends I'm working with knows that I really like Ed Sheeran, so as soon as I said he has red hair, she's like, oh, I'm expecting an Ed Sheeran kind of design, and I'm like, no, I need to like not do that. But then the other thing is, I don't want him to look too much like Weasley from Harry Potter, because the other friend that I'm working with like knows a lot about Harry Potter, has written quite a few like Harry Potter related things, so it would be very easy for Weasley to come first to mind for her. So that was sort of what I was keeping in mind in terms of his design and stuff, like red hair, grey eyes, but not Ed Sheeran and not a Weasley. And I kind of wanted to give him like a side shaved with like a fade kind of hairstyle. That was kind of one of the other early things that I decided about him, because it's just something I don't typically illustrate that much, because I have such a like strong anime influence, and in anime art I don't, at least in my art, I haven't really had much experience with doing like the side shaved or any sort of shaved type of hairstyle. So I thought that giving him like a little side fade kind of thing would make it really interesting, different to what I normally do, and also a little bit more memorable in like the world of my art. And it just feels like, because I also decided like, so for what we've decided of the story so far, there's fantasy and magical elements to it, but it starts off primarily, it's not really an isekai, but it's slightly an isekai. It's not so much like they're stuck in another world. But anyway, point is that we decided that for ease of use to begin with, that we're going to start with something that's a little bit closer to what normal real life is, and like the current world map and modern day kind of thing. So casual, normal, everyday clothes. And I decided that my character was going to be from Canada but Irish descent. So that's why he has red hair and freckles, obviously. But I was just kind of picturing what a 21-year-old Canadian red-haired sort of guy would wear, and like the first thing that came to mind was kind of a plaid overshirt with white undershirt, sort of like black jeans, Converse kind of dealio, or they could be Vans, honestly. It wasn't really, they're just like regular tennis shoes or skater shoes or whatever. So yeah, that was my first thought for his outfit. And I was like I actually watched a couple tutorials on how to do plaid, and I think this isn't the first time I've drawn plaid, obviously, but this is the first time I've drawn it in this particular style, and I'm pretty happy with the way it came out, actually. And I don't think that this style would work as, like this like method of doing plaid would work as well if I were doing it a little bit more finished, but I was kind of leaving it mostly sketchy. If you see in my navigation corner at the top right, I have duplicated my like body sketch of Alroy a couple times because I was planning on giving him a couple outfits. when my friend designed her character, her primary character for this, she did like 2 alternate outfits, and then the other friend did the same thing. So I was like, oh, you know what I should do? I should do 3 alternate outfits, because the first character that was developed has like a quote-unquote presentable, and then a casual, and then the second one has just like 2 variations of sort of casual, like one slightly more than the other. And so I had the idea of doing like every day a super casual and a sort of formal kind of look, and I felt like I would be able to just get better handle on Alroy's style. I do think that I'm going to be doing a little bit more illustration work with him just to get to know him a bit better, and I also want to do a little bit of like writing out of his perspective before we get into like the actual nitty-gritty of writing the actual story, because I don't know, I don't recall having done this sort of process. Normally when I used to write more often, I would just like, pick a thing and just write. I wouldn't really do as much planning for my characters or world building and stuff like that previously. I would just kind of see where the story takes me. But I don't know, it's a lot of fun to like think about things, and it's similar because I've also, outside of regular writing things, I have a couple original characters. I haven't really written much for them, except for a couple drabbles here and there. But like they're more developed, I would say, than a lot of the characters that I have written in the context of more of a story sort of thing, because I've just spent so much time with the characters by themselves without trying to figure out a plot line. I was trying to like figure out their backstories a little bit, the family situation, but I know more about their beliefs, the way they view the world, the way they would like react to certain things. Meanwhile, with the projects that were more sort of just writing centric, not so much character centric, I don't think I would be able to predict their feelings. I don't think I'll be able to write out of their head as easily, because I'm just not as familiar, haven't thought about it as much. So I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a first for me to be writing or like designing a character with already a sort of plot in mind, but trying to treat it as an original character that I have mainly, because the reason why I developed original characters in the first place was just so I could have something to draw without having to only focus on like, it's a character that looks sort of like this, or something that's just like fan art or random. I like the idea of having original characters just so I would have something familiar to like just develop and work on and think about without having, you know, the pressure of having to write like a full novel or something. But this kind of mixes both of those things, where I get to have this character that I'll be drawing and stuff like that, and he's got his companions and stuff like that, and my friends' characters, and we're going to build up more side characters and villains and foils and all that kind of stuff. But I'm treating it more as how I would design, like at this stage in particular, how I would design an original character that's just for the sake of drawing, which I haven't done with previous characters that were more like writing focused. I haven't really spent that much time designing them visually and stuff like that, but I feel like it's really helpful, because like I really get to just think about them and just spend time focusing on them, because while I'm drawing and I'm thinking about all these like artistic things and like values and balance and like anatomy and folds and shading and all that, I'm really just like spending an afternoon with this character, thinking about him, relating. It's like, why would he wear this shirt, and how does the fact that he has freckles affect him? Is he self-conscious about how prominent his Adam's apple is? Does he feel like he has really big ears? Why did he choose the hairstyle that he has? What hairstyle could he have had before he had this one, and why did he change it? What does he feel when he looks at photos of his old hairstyle? And then when I was trying to design the alternate outfit sort of thing, it's like, okay, well, this is like a lot more casual than the last one. In front of what kind of people would he feel comfortable wearing this, and in front of what kind of people wouldn't he feel comfortable wearing this? Would he choose one outfit over the other on a regular day? Which one does he feel more comfortable? Because I know like a lot of people feel very comfortable like physically in their like really laze wear, but they don't feel comfortable in that like they really don't want anyone to see them. But is he nonchalant about the way that he feels in his like really, really casual outfit where he wouldn't mind anyone seeing him in it? Or is he just sort of like only like really close family, or like only for bedtime sort of thing? Is this acceptable to wear? Like all that kind of thing that I was thinking about just while spending time with him, designing him. It's just like it was a really interesting experience, and I look forward to continuing to do that with him as time goes on, because obviously it's just like early stages, and I feel like his design might change a lot. I really do want to try to do a couple of illustrations of it, how he was when he was younger sort of thing, and even just the way that his body looks, because I wrote in our kind of like character cheat sheet, I wrote that he was, I think, 179 centimeters tall and 80 kilograms. So I see that as in like it's a very average weight for his height, but is he pure muscle? Because I have a habit of really making my male characters kind of muscular and not really whatever, but I kind of see it as like he's kind of tall, he's got some muscle to him, but he's also got a bit of a like pudgy stomach, because I kind of see him as a beer drinker sort of thing, and he's got really skinny chicken legs, but his arms are a bit longer, so it kind of like, it's just things that were making me think about making him kind of original, more like a person sort of thing, if that makes any sense. And I really liked adding his freckles to like all over his arms and his legs and stuff like that, because while I have freckles all over me, my legs have less freckles because they see the sun less, but I see Alroy wearing shorts a lot more often, so his freckles will definitely develop on his legs a lot more, and he has far more visible freckles than I do because of just the way that the pigments in his skin work for being a redhead, because even though I've got a lot of freckles, I'm a brunette and I'm pale as like someone who might be a redhead, but it's just, I don't know, there's a lot more freckled than I am, and my experiences with freckles are mainly limited to my own freckles, which is really fun, and I think it adds a lot of like cuteness to him, and maybe he could be self-conscious about his freckles in his childhood, and that's something that maybe I just thought of right now as I'm talking. I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. And I also thought it was interesting to add a more like formal option, because typically when I think of modern day sort of things, I don't necessarily see a very chic, fanciful kind of thing, but like what I figured out for this guy, he took business administration in college, so I can see him having to, you know, for work, dress a bit nicer than his like typical, you know, go to a pub kind of outfit, which is the first one, or like stay at home and be lazy, which is the second one. So I don't know, it's just, and also just even drawing the differences in trousers from like black skinny jeans to blue slacks, I just found was interesting, and trying to fit in blue. But then also, like, does he only ever wear blue? I don't think so. So I need to draw him in something outside of just being blue. And yeah, I feel more like, when I'm thinking more in context of writing and not so much in context of just design, I feel more like I'm thinking about a real person, and I do try to think about my characters in terms of them being like real people to make them more like, you know, solid or whatever, but it was different this time just because I'm thinking about him more as someone who's going to write him soon, and not just somebody who's going to draw him every now and then, which I feel like is very interesting. Like, I would recommend people, whether you're an artist or an author, or you've never written anything for fun in your entire life sort of thing, like, I don't know, just think about it, because it's been a very interesting experience, and we're just in the beginning, so I can see myself getting like really hooked on this and like really invested. And it's kind of a busy time for me because I've just gone back to college and I'm back in my dorm, and like we started working on this like right before I was set to start packing to move out and all this kind of things. But I don't know, it's just been a really nice like place for my brain to go, even though I've been like pretty, you know, busy with other things. It's been like, I don't know, it's an interesting project, and it's got me thinking like writing wise, it's got me thinking creatively, it's got me inspired to draw, because like this is like 3 hours worth of trying to design this character and overpaint it and all that kind of things. And I did pay a lot more attention to cleaning up the way that his face was painted and rendered, because I was gonna like copy paste it all along. Then it's closed. Like, I did obviously put some attention to it, but I didn't like try to fix up the sketch lines or color in the sketch lines outside of his skin and all that kind of thing. But I don't know, it was just like a really fun an interesting process, and it's only just the beginning. And oh yeah, I chose his name Alroy because I looked up Irish names, and Alroy means the red-haired one, which was like, and I like the sound of Alroy, and I don't have any characters whose name starts with an A, I'm fairly sure. So yeah, and you can call him Al, you can call him Roy, or just Alroy. I don't know, I think it was cool. But this is the finished illustration of my character Alroy. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think of Alroy and all those kinds of things, and yeah, I'll see you all next week.